Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. The first day of July. We can officially say now the Jacksonville Jaguars play a football game, a preseason football game next month. And in fact, if you want to get wild and crazy about things, I want to say that the first NFL preseason game, the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio, is July 31st. So with that as a backdrop, ladies and gentlemen, you could say, if you count preseason football, that now you will not go a month without some sort of NFL or college football until March. Yes, I'm grasping at straws a little bit. July 1st, a preseason game is on July 31st, but it all falls in the month of July. We're going to talk a lot of football with you here tonight, a little college football talk, some NFL football talk, Jaguars, NFC South preview continues, and we're going to talk a lot about the NBA offseason, the absolute craziness that has gone on with trades, free agency, the draft, everything that's gone on in the last couple of weeks. Let me set the scene for you right now. Guest lineup looks like this. Coming up here in hour number one, Garrett Padell, CBSSports.com. He does a terrific job covering the NFL for CBS Sports. We'll have Garrett on in the next, 15 minutes or so. And we'll talk Jaguars, we'll talk AFC South and more. And I mentioned the association. Zach Hanshu, one of my main NBA guys from Roto World, will join us in about 40 minutes or so as we'll talk about the deals that have gone down, the trades that have gone down, Kevin Durant to Houston, Dorian Finney-Smith to Houston, Desmond Bane to Orlando. You got Atlanta getting Kristaps Porzingis. Earlier today, the Indiana Pacers lose Miles Turner to their hated rival, the Milwaukee Bucks, and all points in between. So Garrett Padell talking NFL, Zach Hanshu of Roto World talking NBA. That comes up tonight here in hour number one. A lot I want to get into with you as far as the Jaguars go as well. And in fact, that is where we are going to begin tonight's show, because every night on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And Dylan Denmark, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So we played some of these comments earlier today when I was sitting in with Hayes Carline on the Frangie show, and I'm sure you've seen probably some of them on social media. Or if not, I'll fill you in pretty quick. Joshua Hines Allen was a guest on the Rich Eisen show yesterday, and I thought just was outstanding on that show, quite frankly. I mean, he was asked a lot about Travis Hunter, answered everything thoughtfully. It can probably be frustrating when you're one of the main guys of the franchise and you're getting asked over and over and over again about the new rookie in town. But I thought Joshua Hines Allen handled that like a pro. You know, we spend so much time, we meaning 1010XL, our colleagues in the media, the fan base, the collective we here in Northeast Florida. We spend so much time when talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars, talking Trevor Lawrence, talking Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., ETN versus Bigsby, the offensive line, Brenton Strange replacing Evan Ingram, Liam Cohen calling the plays, right? I mean, it's all offense, offense, offense. And with good reason. Offense sells the tickets. Offense obviously scores the points. Offense is the more glamorous position. But I want to spend a moment tonight on Joshua Hines Allen. You know, here's a guy that has been with the Jacksonville Jaguars now for a long time. He is one of the longest tenured guys here outside of Logan Cook. I guess you can't really count Smoot because Smoot left and came back. I think outside of Logan Cook, Joshua Hines-Allen has been here longer than anybody. He was drafted back in 2019. Think about the stuff that Joshua Hines-Allen has seen. Let that settle in for a moment. Joshua Hines-Allen played for Doug Marrone, right? He played for Urban Meyer. He played for Doug Peterson. And now he's about to play for Liam Cohen. He's going to be on his fourth head coach. Joshua Hines-Allen is also on the doorstep of breaking a Jaguar record that has lasted for over 2 decades. He is only 2.5 sacks away from passing Tony Brackens for the all-time quarterback sack leader in Jaguar franchise history. Brackens 55 sacks in a Jaguar uniform. Hines-Allen enters the season with 53 sacks in a Jaguar uniform. You know, for the longest time, we had the conversation, who's going to be the first defensive player to go into the pride of the Jaguars? Because they don't have one yet, right? They got Fred Taylor, they got Burnell, Baselli, Jimmy Smith, Wayne and Dolores Weaver, Tom Coughlin. No defensive guys. And yeah, you can make arguments for MJD and Keenan, but that's not the point here. I'm talking defensive guys. You could argue Brackens, right? But again, that's been 20 plus years now. Same thing with Darius, a little shorter than that. Rashean Mathis is another one. There are certainly candidates that you could legit argue on the defensive side of the ball should maybe be in the pride of the Jaguars. What about Hines-Allen when his playing career is over? What he's meant to this organization, what he will mean to this organization moving forward. Again, the guy's only 27 years old. He's done all this in a Jaguar uniform, played for 4 different head coaches, about to break the Jaguar franchise sack record. And the guy's got, 4 or 5 minimum good years of football left, all of which hopefully will be right here in Jacksonville, Florida. When we have the conversation of best defensive players to ever play for the Jaguars, Brackens, Henderson, Stroud, Darius, Mathis, those are generally the 5, right? Calais, but he wasn't here long enough. I would argue that Joshua Hines-Allen is going to enter that conversation maybe as early as this year. And the great thing about Hines-Allen is he's got a lot of football left in a Jaguar uniform. It just kind of struck me when we were talking about Hines-Allen yesterday and a little bit this afternoon. I won't say we take him for granted necessarily, but he's a good player, and he's represented this organization very, very well on a national stage for a long time. And as much press as we're giving to Travis Hunter and Trevor and BTJ, and with good reason, I just wanted to take this opportunity to highlight Joshua Hines-Allen and point out when all's said and done with his career, you could argue maybe 4 or 5 years down the road that he is maybe the best defensive player to ever wear a Jaguar uniform. And maybe one day, 15 years from now, whatever, we'll be gathered at the stadium downtown to see Joshua Hines-Allen and the number 41 go into the pride of the Jaguars. More Jaguar conversation coming up. Garrett Purdell of CBSSports.com. He does join us in less than 15 minutes. Also, like I mentioned, NBA talk. Boy, crazy stuff in the NBA. Miles Turner. Boy, the Indiana Pacers 9 days ago were in a Game 7 playing for a world championship. 9 days ago. Halliburton goes down with the Achilles, meaning he's going to miss the entirety of next year. And today, Indiana loses their starting center, Miles Turner, to their bitter rival, the Milwaukee Bucks, because they didn't want to pay into the luxury tax. If you're an Indiana Pacer fan, You got to be sick to your stomach, man. You were this close to being a world champion 9 days ago. And now you enter the offseason knowing Halliburton's gone for next year due to injury, knowing Miles Turner's gone, going to Milwaukee. That's got to be a tough, tough pill to swallow. And that's why, as an Orlando fan, that's what I've been talking about, and a lot of people have been talking about, whether you're Orlando, Atlanta has put a lot of their chips in, Detroit signed Duncan Robinson from the Heat earlier today. If you're the Magic, if you're the Hawks, if you're the Pistons, man, the seas have parted. Boston's not going to be what they normally are. Indiana's going to be down. Milwaukee's going to be down. This is your opportunity. And those three teams in particular, the Magic, the Hawks, and the Pistons, have made quite a few splashes this offseason already in free agency, via trade, and in the draft. You look at the Western Conference, you look at what Houston has done with Kevin Durant, Dorian Finney-Smith, Clint Capella. You look at Dallas getting D'Angelo Russell, drafting Cooper Flagg. You know, I remember not too long ago, people were telling me that the NBA was going to be controlled by the big markets. The big markets were going to run things, and the little guys aren't going to be able to compete in the NBA. Give Adam Silver credit on this front. I'm not a fan of everything that he's done, but the NBA might have more parity than any sport going. They've had 7 different champions the last 7 years. And now they're, because of injury and free agency and trades and everything, who on earth is going to win the world title next year? Oklahoma City will be the favorite, certainly. But you could make a legit argument for 8, 10, maybe a dozen teams. Can you say that in the NFL? Can you say that in Major League Baseball? Probably not. I applaud the NBA for the parity because it is at the highest maybe it's ever been. And Adam Silver and what he's done with the NBA and getting the parity there, I do commend them for that. More on the NBA coming up in about a half an hour. Zach Hanshu of Roto World, as we'll look at all the big moves that have happened over the last couple of weeks in the National Basketball Association. Coming up next, Garrett Padell, CBSSports.com. Let's talk Jaguars. Let's talk AFC South. Let's talk Jalen Ramsey to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's look at it all from an NFL perspective with Garrett Padell of CBS Sports. He's next on a Tuesday night in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us on Hacker After Dark.
Jeff Prosser.
There is no fountain of youth!
Dan Hicken.
What?
The Drill.
They came together as a team.
Mornings
I'd rather win.
on 1010XL.
Did we win?
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy. Why so glum?
Stinky ice cubes, Jason. It's all downhill from here.
What?
The tap water at my place smells kind of funky. Funky tap water makes funky ice cubes. I meet a nice girl, invite her back to my place for a cocktail, and blow my whole romantic gesture with a mojito that smells like dog's feet.
Wait, I can totally make you way cooler.
I'm not taking your charity ice cubes, Jason. I have my pride.
Your pride is safe. Our plumbers can be at your house the day you call and install a whole home water purification system. Water tastes better, dishes come out cleaner, even your hair feels better after you shower.
Ooh, The ladies love a man with soft hair, don't they, Jason?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend every day worried about the water in your own home, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
This is Mike Lynch, PGA Golf Professional. Take it from me. If you're dealing with an orthopedic issue, talk to the doctors at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where you're treated like a pro.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros. Thanks to all of you who have allowed us to be part of your recovery. Call us at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists if you ever have a need.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
If you missed it, get it on demand.
And you send those out on the line.
Find your 1010XL favorites where you find podcasts and at 1010XL.com. Channel 5. Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line.
Hello.
Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. Roughly 3 weeks away from Jaguar training camp, we can officially say now NFL preseason football is next month. How about that, as we have entered the month of July? Let's talk Jaguars, let's talk AFC South, and let's talk about that big trade that went down yesterday in the National Football League. My buddy Garrett Padell of CBSSports.com, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Garrett, I trust your offseason has gone well, man. How are you?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, taking some time off to relax, go to the lake, kick back, enjoy the weather in the summer. But, look, big trades. Like you said, training camp coming around the corner. Always a good time to talk ball, especially with where we're at right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And let's get to the big trade that happened yesterday in the National Football League. You normally don't see all-pro caliber player for all-pro caliber player, but you did, and you also mixed in a tight end that had 88 catches last year. Miami sends essentially Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith to Pittsburgh in exchange for Minkah Fitzpatrick, a couple draft picks included as well. Garrett, what was your takeaway from that big deal yesterday?
I think there's a number of layers to this deal, Ryan, that we can certainly unpack, right? I mean, from the Steelers' perspective, I think it shows kind of loud and clear what their expectations are. I mean, many people on the outside looking in were like, okay, Aaron Rodgers finally signed with them and reported for mandatory minicamp. They'll probably be in the mix for, a wild card spot. The Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson have kind of run that division the last few years. But so they could maybe be team to get in the wild card. But obviously Pittsburgh does not see it that way. They see themselves probably as a Super Bowl contender making a move like this, right? I mean, they are trading Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's been a cornerstone of their secondary for so many years, been multi-time Pro Bowler, as you mentioned, and they flip him for Jalen Ramsey, who's a couple years older. But I think the big get for the Steelers in this trade is Jonnu Smith. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic for Miami last season. He was top 5 in the NFL among tight ends in every major receiving stat. And I think he's going to be a big component of their passing game, because we know they signed or they traded for and signed DK Metcalf to be the new number 1 receiver in Pittsburgh. They flipped George Pickens down to my neck of the woods in Dallas. So people wondering, okay, who's the number 2 option in this passing game? I mean, many people probably would have looked at Pat Freiermuth, their tight end that they've drafted and developed, who's been on the roster for a while and has been a nice red zone threat. But apparently they probably want to go a little more 2 tight end set plus Metcalf on the outside to me. And it makes a lot of sense because, look, who's their offensive coordinator? Arthur Smith, who brought Jonnu Smith with him to Atlanta when he was the Falcons head coach. And to the chagrin of Falcons fans, drew up a lot of plays featuring Jonnu Smith, even though they had first-round talent like Drake London or Bijan Robinson. I mean, they even gave him like a end around handoff near the goal line instead of giving it to Bijan, which people were up in arms about. So I think it says a lot about where the Steelers see themselves kind of offensively. And then the Miami side, we look at it, and it looks like Miami wanted to get a little younger in the secondary, but trading Jonnu Smith, I know there was some smoke about him wanting, and contract security, a raise after having the awesome year that he did last year. So maybe Miami said, look, we don't want to deal with that. Jalen Ramsey's at the end of his contract. Maybe want to get a little younger in the secondary. But kind of for a Dolphins organization that Mike McDaniel, they missed the playoffs last year. I wouldn't say he's hot, but someone whose seat is starting to warm up a little bit. I don't understand the move a ton offensively. I mean, to me, it just says Tyreek and Jalen Waddle are the whole offense. Maybe Devon Achane gets more involved in the passing game, but I understand it from a defensive perspective for Miami. Offensively, I'm a little confused.
Garrett Padell, CBSSports.com, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. That was the big trade. It's been a big offseason here in Jacksonville, Garrett. Obviously, you and I haven't spoke since the regular season ended, and heck, that seems like forever ago. You bring in Liam Cohen and James Gladstone and over a dozen free agents and the trade for Travis Hunter. I mean, it has been wild. From an outside point of view like yours, looking in here to Jacksonville, what have you made over the last 6 months here in Northeast Florida?
I've liked a lot of the things that Jacksonville has done this offseason. I mean, if we start with free agency, cornerback Jordan Lewis, with me being based in Dallas and being around and plugged in with the Cowboys, he's someone I've gotten to know over the last few years. I think from both on-field perspective, versatile guy who was a nickel corner, slot corner when Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland were both healthy, but that was, few and far between. So he actually, even though he's kind of a smaller guy by NFL outside corner standards, can play outside. So he's versatile. He can go anywhere in the secondary, and he's a physical, willing tackler in the run game, which you would think would be the norm for any NFL defensive back, but it's not. Some defensive backs are reticent to get involved in the run game. He's not. So I really like that pickup. And then, Travis Hunter, I really love that trade up for him. He's somebody, he and I had a one-on-one conversation just before the draft, and I'm very curious to see how Liam Cohen deploys him, because obviously the Jags tweeted when they signed to his rookie deal, we've signed wide receiver Travis Hunter to his rookie deal. Separate tweet, we've signed defensive back Travis Hunter to a rookie deal. And Travis told me in our one-on-one Zoom before the draft that I kind of jokingly asked him this. I was like, would you rather retire or be forced to only play one position in the NFL? And he said retire, because I'm great at both and I know I can do both. So it'll be very fun to see how Liam Cohen utilizes him, because Liam Cohen, man, he had Baker and the Buccaneers offense absolutely soaring last year.
Garrett, it's interesting. I didn't realize you were the one that asked him that. I remember seeing that clip before the draft, and Travis Hunter's
that was me.
Yeah, Travis Hunter's made a lot of fans already here in Jacksonville, as you can imagine. It's a huge year for Trevor Lawrence. I'm getting asked by a lot of people on different podcasts and shows that I go on talking Jags if this is a make or break a year for Trevor Lawrence, and I don't necessarily know if I'm going to go there, but my answer is always this. If it's a bad year in 2025, then yeah, I think maybe 2026 is a, quote, do or die year for Trevor Lawrence. What is your thought on him heading into the season?
I like where you're at on that, Ryan. I was thinking about it as you were setting that up, and because on paper, you would think if he can stay healthy, he's got what he needs to be successful. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr., their first-round pick a year ago, I mean, he's only the fourth rookie since the 1970 AFL-NFL merger to go over 1,200 receiving yards and 10 receiving touchdowns as a rookie. The other three guys are Hall of Famer Randy Moss, the most recent Triple Crown winner, Jamar Chase, and Odell Beckham Jr., who was the 2014 Rookie of the Year. So, I mean, he had one of the best rookie receiving seasons of all time last year. You got him. You bring in Travis Hunter, who I would take a gander just looking at, Christian Kirk being out the door, Evan Ingram being out the door, that Travis Hunter would heavily be involved offensively. And you have Liam Cohen, who had Tampa averaging nearly 30 points per game, 29.5, which is the third most in Buccaneers history. And Baker Mayfield set Buccaneers single-season passing records for completion percentage and passer rating under Cohen last year. So when you look at Cohen coming in and getting Baker Mayfield to play at the best ball of his career, you would think Trevor Lawrence has everything, that he needs to succeed in Jacksonville. Now, career low 10 games played last year. He had the AC joint sprain in his shoulder, had a concussion. So, I mean, the big thing with him has been, can he stay upright? And so you look at, what did Jacksonville do to address his offensive line? They brought in a nice depth piece from Dallas, Chuma Edoga. Who's a nice kind of swing tackle, can play inside, outside, better as tackle. Robert Hainsey, center from Tampa Bay. And then also Patrick McCarry, who's kind of been an OL tight end, kind of now more of an offensive line based on stature from the Ravens. And so you go with those guys, and then also banking on the growth of the draft picks that have been invested in Jacksonville on the upfront. So I would agree with you. And I think it's interesting, right? Because when Jacksonville made the playoff run in 2022, Trevor Lawrence was phenomenal. He had a 9-game stretch to end the season in which he was lights out electric. And everyone looked at that stretch and was like, oh my gosh, he threw 15 touchdowns and only 2 picks, 70% completion. This guy looks like the number 1 pick we drafted. But the rest of his career outside of that 9-game stretch to end the year, he's 54 touchdowns to 44 picks, 63% completion percentage. So, yeah, it's kind of been you've seen the glimpses of potential, but it just has not been consistent, to your point, Ryan.
Final moments, Garrett Padell of CBSSports.com. Garrett, look, the Jaguars are coming off a 4-win year, and I'm usually not one to drink the Kool-Aid, and I don't know if they're going to have a massive turnaround, but what I do know is they're in a division that isn't exactly the best in the league, right? Tennessee's in a little bit of a rebuild with a first-year quarterback. Indianapolis has a terrific roster. The problem is they don't know who their quarterback is. And I would argue Houston, I don't know what they were doing this offseason, quite frankly, particularly along the offensive line there. Not to say Jacksonville is going to win the South, Garrett, but I think it's one of the divisions where you could see a 4-win team from a year ago be competitive in 2025. What's your thought on the South as a whole?
I would agree with you. I'd say both the NFC and AFC South divisions are the two most gettable divisions in the NFL. And what I mean by that is, yeah, to your point, some team could come out of nowhere and grab it because CJ Stroud, he's obviously the best quarterback in the division. But as you mentioned with the offensive line, I mean, their offensive line was horrendous. And, they did some musical chairs there. They sent Laramie Tunsil to the Commanders, signed Cam Robinson, who honestly was not that great for the Minnesota Vikings when he joined them the second half of last season. So it's going to be really interesting. And I do like, obviously, the edge rushers Jacksonville has with Joshua Hines, Allen, and Travon Walker. And Walker particularly, I think he's really taken a step up or two the last few years. And so if that Houston offensive line can't consistently protect CJ Stroud, I think there's a very real chance for there to be a real fight for first place. Now, they've won the division the last 2 years, but I think if they really struggle to protect him, it's gettable, I think.
Garrett, we got 60 seconds. In the Super Bowl, the last NFL game that was played, obviously it was Philadelphia and Kansas City. Are those the two teams that are still the favorites in their respective conferences coming into the year?
I think certainly for Philadelphia until they're knocked off, you feel that way with how dominant their offensive line has been. They got a lot younger on defense. They had a little defensive exodus, but they draft so well and have so many great blue chip dudes on that defense. I feel like the Eagles very comfortably are that. In the AFC, I'm not sure Kansas City's the favorite, right? Because Travis Kelce, he looked like he was stuck in quicksand a lot of last year. And outside of his rookie year, 2024 was his worst season, and he's 35 years old. And then Rashee Rice, who they kind of expected to be their next really nice wide receiver. He's coming off the ACL injury, plus maybe looming suspension hanging over his head. And so with that, you look at teams like the Buffalo Bills and Baltimore Ravens, and I think cases can be made for both of those teams as being favorites over them in the AFC entering 2025.
Garrett, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, CBSSports.com and the coverage you'll have in the coming weeks as training camps begin to open.
Absolutely, yeah. Check out all my stuff. I have national pieces. If you're interested in Dallas Cowboys pieces on CBSSports.com in the lead up to training camp. I will be, for those interested, in Oxnard, California, covering Cowboys camp August 4th through 11th. That covers a joint practice and the Rams-Cowboys first preseason game. And, we're writing all kinds of fun national pieces as well throughout the summer lead up to camp. CBSSports.com on all social media platforms at Garrett Podell, GarrettPodell.
Garrett Podell of CBSSports.com. Garrett, enjoy the last couple of weeks of normalcy. Obviously, when training camps begin to open, it's going to be a very, very busy time of year. Thank you as always, pal.
Thank you so much for having me. Let's talk soon.
There you go, Garrett Podell of CBSSports.com. Always appreciate his time. And if you didn't see it earlier today, the Miami Dolphins, who made a bunch of news yesterday, we talked about it with Garrett, the Jalen Ramsey trade. They get Minkah Fitzpatrick. Well, the Dolphins now are going to replace Jonnu Smith, who they traded to Pittsburgh as well yesterday at tight end. They're going to get Darren Waller. Remember him? Darren Waller, who arguably was a top 10, maybe a top 5 tight end in this league a couple of years ago, went to the Giants after the Raiders. It didn't work out there. He left football, I believe, to pursue a rap artist career. That obviously didn't materialize. So now he's coming back to the league, and all of a sudden he's probably projected as the Dolphins' starting tight end. Miami traded a 6th-round pick in the 2026 draft, and I believe a 7th-round pick in the 2027 draft. Basically, they gave the Giants a can of Spam and a bologna sandwich for Darren Waller, and we'll see what happens. But a guy that's coming out of retirement, did not play last year, now is right back in the mix with the Miami Dolphins, presumably as their starting tight end. I can't imagine anybody on that Dolphins roster would start over him, assuming he's in football shape when the regular season does come around. More in the National Football League coming up in just a bit. Our NFC South preview continues. Last night we were in Tampa. Later on this week, we will go to New Orleans and to Atlanta. Tonight, it's all about the Jaguars opener. Their opening opponent, the Carolina Panthers. We will go to Charlotte and talk to the Mac Attack. That's right, Chris McClain. You longtime sports radio listeners in Jacksonville, I'm sure remember Chris from his days on The Ball. Chris has been the morning host in Charlotte with WFNZ Radio for years now. He's my guy when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. And we'll talk to the Mac Attack, Chris McClain, about the Jacksonville, again, their opening opponent, the Carolina Panthers, and what was a pretty productive offseason for Carolina. Coming up next, let's get into the National Basketball Association. Wild is an understatement. What has gone on in the NBA the last couple of weeks? Kevin Durant, Kristaps Porzingis, Drew Holiday, Desmond Bane, all traded. You got Miles Turner leaving the Pacers to go to the Bucks today. Miami Heat fans, you just lost Duncan Robinson. He's on his way to Detroit. Dorian Finney-Smith, the former Gator, gets $53 million to leave the Lakers and go to the Rockets. There has been a ton of moves, a ton of activity. Let's talk about it with my buddy Zach Hanshaw of Roto World. Does a terrific job covering the association, and he joins me next on a Tuesday night here in Northeast Florida with Dylan Denmark. The hacker Ryan Green with you. It's Hacker After Dark.
Let's take a look inside 1010XL.
Who wants the Grand Tour? That would be terrific. That would be great.
We have the drill in the morning.
There your music.
Jaguars Today from 10 to noon.
Good.
Helmets and heels until 2.
Yes.
XL Prime Time and the Franchi Show afternoons.
This is great.
Then Baloo and Hacker take you into the night.
All in one location.
1010XL.
Got a clogged drain that just won't quit? It's time to bring in the pros. Duck Duck Rooter.
I called Duck Duck Rooter for a clogged kitchen drain. They showed up fast and had it cleared in no time. No mess, no stress.
We've seen it all. Grease clogs, hairballs, mystery goo from the deep. Whatever's blocking your pipes, we'll get it flowing again. Call 904-862-6769 now to schedule your drain cleaning service. That's 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the duck.
The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron. Totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens. Also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
Hi, Zoe Saldana. Welcome to T-Mobile. Here's your new iPhone 16 Pro on us.
Thanks. And here's my old phone to trade in.
You don't need a trade-in. When you switch to T-Mobile, we'll give you a new iPhone 16 Pro. Plus, we'll help you pay off your old phone up to $800, and you still get to keep it.
There's always a trade-in.
Not right now at T-Mobile.
I feel like I have to give you something in return for karma.
That's okay.
I don't really have much in my purse. Oh, let's see. Hand sanitizer. It's lavender.
I'm good. Seriously.
Let me check this pocket. Oh, mints?
Really, I'm fine.
Oh, I have raisins. I'm a mom. Wait 1 sec. I've got cupcakes in the car.
It's our best iPhone offer ever. Switch to T-Mobile. Get a new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence on us. No trade-in needed. We'll even pay off your phone up to $800.
With 24 monthly bill credits, new line $100 plus a month on experience beyond finance agreement $999.99 and qualifying forwarded. For well qualified plus tax and $10 connection charge. Pay off via virtual prepaid card for 15 days. Credits end and balance due if you pay off early or cancel. See T-Mobile.com.
Hacker here, and I want to tell you one of my favorite things about Awaken 180 Weight Loss, and that's the personalized coaching that you get with Awaken 180. Now, a lot of weight loss programs, they'll give you some plan off their website, and they'll say, all right, have fun, see you later. Not Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Prime example of that, my Coach Kate. I've had phone calls with my Coach Kate over a year now, every single week. She's been advising me, she's been guiding me, she's been motivating me, and as a result of that, I'm down well over 100 pounds. I'm on the maintenance program now. The coaching you get with Awaken 180 helps you reach your goal. It is absolutely sensational, and it separates Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Do what I did. If it's time for you to lose weight like it was for me, go to awaken180weightloss.com. That's awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800. Take it from me. If I can do it, you can do it. Get involved with Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
It's a magical phone line.
Check this out.
It brings you things you can't get anywhere else, like insider insight from sports experts. Listen for the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Check. Every day on 1010XL.
Storms don't wait, so why should you? Protect your home and your wallet with Universal Roof and Contracting. Save 15% on roof replacements and repairs now through July 31st. And financing is available with payments as low as $115. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com.
Life is just so busy this time of year. Between work, the kids' games, family vacations, I need a yard hero to free up my weekends.
You mean somebody who does mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
How about mosquito control?
Yeah.
What about irrigation and pet waste removal?
You do that too? You're my lawn hero.
Find your lawn hero at heroeslawncare.com. Heroes Lawn Care, because every lawn needs a hero.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece. Premium flooring. Take our advice. Home business, affordable price. Driveways, pool decks, garage doors, beautiful patios, and more to explore. Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
What was George Washington's salary when he was president?
Filing an insurance claim following a storm shouldn't be an ordeal. Southern Oak Insurance's claim team prepares for catastrophic situations well in advance. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
George Washington's annual salary as president was $25,000, about $4.5 million in today's dollars.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line.
Hello.
Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, the NBA season just ended, right? Less than a week and a half ago, and the offseason already has been wild. We have had a bunch of trades. We've had a draft. Now we got free agency going on, and teams look drastically different than they did just a couple of weeks ago. Let's talk about all of it with Zach Hanshu of Roto World. He's certainly one of our guys when it comes to the NBA, and Zach's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Zach, we're good. Appreciate the time as always. All right, you and I haven't spoken since the Desmond Bane trade to Orlando. Since then, they've also drafted Jace Richardson in the first round, and they recently signed Tyus Jones to back up Jalen Suggs at the point. What's been your thought on what Orlando has done here in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, man. So I think immediately, right, they addressed the glaring issue that they had last year was floor spacing, right? They ranked dead last in three-point shooting, and obviously Desmond Bane is a three-point specialist. They've shored up their backcourt as well. As you said, they drafted Jace Richardson, and I really like the move to bring in Tyus Jones. I know Suggs was injured last year. Suggs is a fine point guard, but Suggs is also a great scorer. Tyus Jones is more of a facilitator, more of a floor general. Maybe Anthony Black is going to be your point guard of the future, and I think that's totally fine. But Tyus Jones is a veteran, and he's a guy that is a floor general. He's going to get teammates involved. And when you have scoring options like Franz and Paolo and Desmond Bane, and even Wendell Carter sometimes as well, I think Tyus Jones is going to be a great fit in that locker room.
You're talking about a guy in Tyus Jones that averaged 10 points and 5 assists a game. He played 81 games for Phoenix last year, and Orlando got him for a one-year, $7 million deal, Zach. When you see all the money being thrown around, all these free agents, boy, that's a pretty good deal Orlando got there with Tyus Jones, is it not?
I think so. And Tyus Jones with Phoenix last year, 10-5, but he can be so much better than that in terms of the assists that he brings. You look at the season before that in Washington, there was a stretch after the All-Star break where he was averaging, 10 assists a night, it seemed like. So he's a guy that really can get teammates involved, and they just didn't utilize him a ton last year in Phoenix, kind of giving Devin Booker a little run as point guard. So I think Jones, if he gets utilized properly here in Orlando, it could be a big benefit.
Zach Hanshu of Roto World. With the injuries to Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, we now know Milwaukee has waived Damian Lillard. That came out earlier today. The East is wide open. And I see two teams, Zach, that are trying to take advantage of that. I look at Orlando, and I look at Atlanta as well. It looks like the Hawks and the Magic think their window of opportunity is right now.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously the Hawks, I love what they're doing. They brought in Porzingis on a pretty cheap trade. So that gives them a big that can space the floor. So now they got rid of Capella, right? So they have Porzingis, they have Jalen Johnson, they have Okongwu. So all three of their big guys are floor stretchers. And, I think that's going to be great to play alongside Trey. They also brought in Nickeil Alexander-Walker for some microwave scoring off the bench, which is something that they desperately needed a season ago. And they brought in another floor spacer in Luke Kennard, and also a veteran to put in that locker room. So, yeah, I love what Atlanta's doing right now. I love what Orlando's doing, as you and I just talked about. And I will throw one other team out there that I really like. They're making some moves that maybe aren't quite as splashy, but the Knicks, they've changed their coach. We're thinking, hey, maybe they don't rely so much on their core and their starters to run them ragged with 40 minutes a night. And so they brought in Jordan Clarkson, who can be a 15-point-per-game scorer. He did that with Utah. Maybe the Knicks don't need him to score that many, but he is instant offense off the bench. And you got a tough big man that you can bring in if guys like Mitchell Robinson or Precious Achiuwa are injured, which they have been known to be, in Gershon Yabusele from Philadelphia. So I really like those two moves to add to their depth and give them some versatility across the roster.
Zach, it was 9 days ago the Indiana Pacers were in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Halliburton goes down, an Achilles. He's likely to miss all of next season. And now they lose Miles Turner till Milwaukee. It's been a horrible 9 days for the Pacers, correct?
Yeah, you're not wrong at all, man. And I hate to say that Indiana is better off punting next season. But they're better off punting next season. We'll just call it what it is. When your top guy is going to be Pascal Siakam, you have a great roster around him. Don't get me wrong, but you have no depth at center, and you're missing your floor general and the heart of the team in Tyrese Halliburton. The best you're going to finish is going to be maybe middle of the pack, and at that point, you might as well punt the season and get a better draft pick.
Was the thinking with Milwaukee and signing Turner that they had to do something because obviously, they lost Brook Lopez, Damian Lillard's out, and they've ultimately released him. You got to make Giannis happy. They did make a splash today with that signing.
Yeah, and apparently Giannis is behind the scenes saying that he wanted to team up with Miles Turner. So maybe that kind of leads my head to think that, well, if he's pulling the strings behind the scenes and trying to add guys, maybe he really isn't leaving Milwaukee like we might have thought. So I think that adds an interesting wrinkle into the mix. As currently constructed, is Milwaukee going to make a lot of noise with Turner and with Giannis as your two focal points? I doubt it. Kevin Porter Jr. is probably going to be your point guard. You have Kyle Kuzma, who did nothing last year. You had Turner, who was a complete no-show in the finals. I don't know if Turner coming in really moves the needle for them a lot, especially when you're playing against teams like the Magic, who are revamped. You got the Knicks team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Cleveland's going to be back. Atlanta's making some moves. So I don't think it moves the needle for them.
Zach Hanshu of Roto World. You talk about Indiana maybe punting on next season. What about Boston? They still got Derek White and Jaylen Brown the time you and I are talking, and they trade for Anthony Simons, which is nice, but obviously no Tatum for a majority, if not all, of next year. They trade Holiday. They trade Porzingis. What is the thought on Boston moving forward?
Yeah, your starting lineup as currently constructed right now, your current starting lineup is, Derek White and Jaylen Brown, obviously. Simons, you figure, is going to be in that mix to start alongside Derek White. And then what are you doing in the front court? Tatum's out, so you're looking at George Niang and who? Neemias Queta, Luka Garza. I have no idea what they're going to be doing in the front court. They lost Luke Cornett to the Spurs. They lost Porzingis to the Hawks. Horford is a free agent. I doubt he's coming back. He'll probably get interest from a contending team. Maybe he goes to Los Angeles. Maybe he goes to Golden State. Maybe he plays with one of these teams. I can't see him returning to Boston knowing that they're not going to compete next year. But when we're talking about that starting five, stack that up against Cleveland or Orlando or New York. Stack it up against any of the better teams in the West. It falls way short.
We talk about Orlando and Atlanta making moves in the East. You brought up New York as well. Zach, I look at Houston in the West. I mean, obviously Durant. They just add Dorian Finney-Smith. They bring Clint Capella back. I mean, it looks like Houston is going all in on next season.
Yeah, I mean, they were the second place in the West last year, 52 games, and then you revamp. You bring in KD, you bring in DFS, you bring Capella back. So your front court is completely stacked with Capella, Şengün, and Steven Adams, who they re-signed. You bring back some of your young guys. You bring back Atari Eason. You bring back an Amen Thompson. So you have length, you have defense, you have versatility, you have scoring. And I think most importantly, they played a 7-game series last year against Golden State that they could have won. But Houston's biggest problem was they had no superstar and no closer at the end of these tight games. And so now, hey, I'll give the ball to Durant at the end of the game and surround him with just some tremendous pieces on both ends of the court. I think Houston's very scary next year.
Couple of more for Zach Hanshu of Roto World covering the NBA offseason. Zach, the other two teams in Texas have made noise as well. Dallas brings in D'Angelo Russell. Obviously, Kyrie's going to be out most of the year with an ACL, but they draft Cooper Flagg. So now you're potentially looking Cooper Flagg, Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, D'Angelo Russell. It's pretty good. And then San Antonio has just a ton of young talent. And the funny thing about that is you almost forget De'Aaron Fox is on that team as well.
Yeah, so, I mean, we start with Dallas. I love the D'Lo move. I think he's a great stopgap until Kyrie's back, and then obviously he can play off ball. He can play two guard. You have some options to move some guys around. You could potentially even bring Klay off the bench once Kyrie's healthy and get Kyrie and D'Lo playing together. Flag at the 3, and then you have AD playing his natural position at the 4. They couldn't really experiment with that too much last year just because of all the injuries. PJ Washington came alive last year. Najee Marshall played really well when they called on him. I think they really just need to get that backcourt situated, and I think D'Lo was definitely the move there. Remains to be seen what Klay Thompson is able to do, but if he can even get back to, maybe a little bit of what he used to be, I think Dallas is going to be just fine next season, and they'll be in the playoffs again.
Zach, I got to ask you for the benefit of our audience. Well, actually, go ahead with San Antonio before I get there. What are your thoughts on the Spurs?
Sure. Yeah, I was just going to dive into the young talent like you mentioned. You have now, we thought that they were going to trade that second pick, right? And so they end up going with Dylan Harper. And so people are going to say, wow, this roster is a bit redundant. You got Rookie of the Year Steph Castle. You got De'Aaron Fox, who you traded for. Now you got Dylan Harper. At some point during this season, or maybe even next season, or next off season, it's a great problem to have, right? Maybe Fox is not part of your future. Maybe it's a Harper and Castle backcourt that they're looking at, and Fox gets dealt. Maybe Harper gets dealt. Maybe Castle gets dealt. I have no idea. But when you have 3 guards like that, you do have a great trade asset. You have great depth. And now you have Victor Wembanyama, who's going to be coming back healthy. You have guys like Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell. You have some veterans in the locker room like a Harrison Barnes. You got some front court depth. I think it was a little bit of an overpay, but you brought Luke Cornett in as another 7-footer who can space the floor and get you some rebounds. And give you that ridiculous, jumping from 10 feet away defense that he calls it. I think they have just a ton of talent next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they made the playoffs.
Yeah, things are looking up for the Spurs, no question about it. Zach, as we begin to wrap up, for the benefit of our audience, Colin Sexton out with Utah, Walter Clayton Jr. drafted in round number 1. What do you foresee for Walter Clayton Jr. out there with the Jazz this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think Utah is putting him in a position right now. I mean, they're moving guys off the roster right now. They moved Colin Sexton. They moved Jordan Clarkson. They moved Sexton, and they're obviously letting Clarkson go. But they're clearly sending a signal that they are going to build around their young backcourt. And so it's going to be Clayton. It's going to be Keontae George. It's going to be Isaiah Collier. And again, they kind of have a similar situation to the Spurs where they have these 3 great guards. We've seen some highlights from George. We've seen some highlights from Collier. George is more of a long-range sniper. Collier is more of kind of the traditional facilitator type. And we'll see where Walter Clayton fits into that mix. But I think that's a great problem for them to have as well.
Zach, final question, 60 seconds. We've talked about a lot of teams in the last 15 minutes. What team, I guess in each conference, one per conference, has helped themselves the most in the last month?
Oh, man. I think it's probably, we'll just go with the obvious ones here, right? So I think Houston, clearly in the West, the West is just completely loaded from top to bottom, and they needed to make a splash move. They did that. They shored up some depth. They added a 3-and-D wing in DFS. They brought in some front court depth, which really makes them dangerous at the center position. So I'm going to go with Houston there. And if we're talking about in the East, it's tough to say from the teams we talked about, but I would say most impactful right now, I'll lean Hawks right now just for the scoring, the 3-point shooting, and the versatility at center right now. But I really do like what New York and Orlando have done as well.
It's been a crazy month. And, oh, by the way, NBA Summer League begins next week. That is hard to believe. Zach Hanshu of Roto World. Zach, I know it's a very busy time for you. Appreciate you taking time out for us. Have a happy 4th of July, and we'll talk again soon, pal.
Absolutely, man. You do the same. Thanks.
They call him Fat Tony, but he's not really fat.
0% body fat.
But it's a really big show.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Jaguars Today.
Biggie don't make no difference.
10 to noon on 1010XL.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Millard Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Millard Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Millard Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Millard Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Summer means fun in all forms. Longer days and more chances to soak up the sun and the fun. Budweiser and Bud Light reminding you to drink wiser. Hydrate between beers and don't sweat it. It's the best way to get home safely.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference.
Hey, it's Frank Frangie. Look, when it comes to glass needs around the home, there's one name I trust, Lee and Kate's. It's local, family-owned, and they've been part of our community since 1926. They've taken great care of me over the years, and I know they'll do the same for you. Visit LeeandKatesGlass.com.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Baseball is back. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark is your home for affordable family fun. Tickets start at just $5. Fireworks after every Friday home game and kids around the bases after Sunday games. Log on to jumboshrimp.com for tickets and details. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball. Affordable, family, fun.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pickett here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit SurfsidePools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
Yo, it's your main man ET here for Explore Clay. And Clay County is your destination this 4th of July. Start the morning with the Freedom 5K in Keystone Heights. Medals for the first 300 finishers and a scenic course through the shaded neighborhoods. Then enjoy the 57th annual celebration at City Hall with vendors, live music, and family fun. Wrap up the day at Moose Haven in Orange Park for the American Pride 4th of July, a free Riverside event with food, live entertainment, and fireworks over the St. Johns River. Discover more at exploreclay.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Hey, Jacksonville, need a fence and ready to save? At Superior Fence and Rail, you'll lock in 5% off your fence project when you sign by the end of July. A limited time offer for savings and peace of mind this summer. Now accepting appointments for a free estimate. So act fast and get 5% off your entire fence project when you finalize by July 31st. Cannot be combined with other offers. New contracts only.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night right here on 1010XL. And on 92.5 FM. Coming up in less than 15 minutes, our NFC South preview continues. We will head to Charlotte, North Carolina to catch up with the Mac Attack. Chris McLean, WFNZ Radio up in Charlotte, as we will talk about the Jaguars' opening opponent, Bryce Young, who some people left for dead, quarterback speaking, franchise quarterback speaking, had a nice little resurgence at the end of last year. How has his offseason gone? Of course, Carolina drafted Ted McMillan, Princely Umanmielen, Trevor Etienne. A lot of local guys that we're very familiar with were drafted by the Carolina Panthers. So we'll talk about all of that with Chris McLean. That comes up in less than 15 minutes. Also some college football talk towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. College football reporter Jesse Simonton will join me to talk a little Florida and Florida State. Denmark, I got a picture here that was taken in the Gator football facility, I assume earlier today. Graham Mertz came back to talk to the quarterbacks, and the picture is of the quarterback room. Boy, DJ Lagway found the weight room this past year. I don't remember him looking like this. He's not Tebow, but good heavens, man. He's got some oomph to him this year. I think when he's running, he's going to make defenders feel his presence. Again, I don't know if you want your quarterback to be gigantic as far as muscular, but DJ Lagway, and I noticed this in a picture that was taken, I guess, a month or two ago as well. All of a sudden, that frame is filling out. DJ Lagway's a big boy now.
Yeah, he's from the state of Texas in high school where they take, football probably the most serious out of anybody in the country. But even then, going from high school to college and you're still developing as, a man and, your body's still filling out, you're probably going to still gain at least 10, 15 pounds. And it definitely looks like he has. I know like a lot of kids that I coach high school football, and a lot of kids that we send to college, and just their spring alone, they usually gain 15, 20 pounds. They're not on a nutrition system and all that. So, he is big. Probably biggest, since, Cam Newton. Remember when he was a freshman?
Oh, yeah. He was running over people.
Ginormous.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you look at Florida, too, and The Athletic did a list of the top 25 players in the Southeastern Conference heading into the 2025 season. Lagway actually came in at number 22. You had Jake Slaughter. Everybody loves Slaughter. Like, there's a thought out there that Jake Slaughter for Florida may literally be the best center in America. He was in that ESPN.com 2026 mock draft yesterday. He's listed as a top 10 player in the SEC. When a center is listed as a top 10 player in the SEC coming into 2025, that is the high praise for Jake Slaughter. Tyreek Sapp is getting a lot of love as well. Here's my question, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. We're talking about Tyreek Sapp. We're talking about Caleb Banks. What about George Gums? What about the flag man, the man that planted the flag at Doak Campbell Stadium last year? Are we kind of forgetting about him? I think that three-headed monster of Gums, Banks, and Sapp, and you mix in maybe some LJ McCray in there as well. Denmark, there's a lot of potential on that Gator defensive line.
Oh, no doubt. And I mean, everybody expects them to pick up where they did in November. And that was, not a lot of teams running the ball on them and, getting pressure on the quarterback, and putting their ears back on third down. I mean, first 2 weeks, it's going to be, a little warm up, but then LSU week 3 and Miami week 4. And a lot of people were having high praise on LSU this year.
People love LSU.
Not to go back to Rick's show, he has the Philly Godfather on. He's been red hot on his picks to win the national title. He had Ohio State last year. He had Michigan 2 years ago to win the title. He picked LSU to win the title this year.
Did he really?
So, but Garrett Nussmeier is projected to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league, and they have a quarterback that's coming back. So we'll see. I do think LSU is going to be one of the teams that's going to be in that SEC title game, though.
Looking at LSU's schedule at Clemson, that's tough, right? I mean, that's going to be a heck of a game on Saturday, August 30th. Tigers at Tigers in Clemson's Death Valley. Then you go Louisiana Tech, they'll kill them. They get Florida. I mean, we're going to know about LSU pretty quick with Clemson and Florida in the first 3 weeks. Then Southeast Louisiana, they'll destroy them. And then they get into the meat of their conference schedule. At Ole Miss, home South Carolina, at Vanderbilt, home Texas A&M, at Alabama, home Arkansas, Western Kentucky, at Oklahoma. I mean, you look at LSU's schedule, Denmark, and we got to go quick here. At Clemson's tough. Florida, I'd like to think would be tough. I don't know enough about Ole Miss because they had to replace so many guys. They have to go to Oxford. At Alabama, obviously. They got to go at Oklahoma. It's not the easiest schedule for LSU.
No, the first 2 out of 3 is the biggest test. Going on the road to Clemson is going to be tough, and then LSU's a 7.5-point favorite at home against Florida. And that's going to be Florida's first test. I mean, Florida plays Long Island, which is going to be a snooze fest, and then you play USF, which
USF will be competitive for a half.
Right, that could give them a game. I mean, USF has given Alabama a game in the last couple of years, so it's going to be their first real test, and LSU is going to be a team. We're going to find out about them quick. But remember last year, before they played Alabama, it was like they had 2 different teams. And like the first half of the season, they were a really good team. And then the second half of the season, they were like a completely different team. When they lost to Florida and Alabama, Jalen Milroe ran roughshod on them.
Actually, looking at this schedule, we talk about how hard Florida's schedule is. LSU's got to go to Clemson, Ole Miss, Alabama, and Oklahoma. Those are 4 of their road games. That's brutal. If they run that, they're going to earn a spot in the playoff, no question. We'll do more college football talk. Jesse Simonton joins me coming up in about 25 minutes. Coming up next, back into the National Football League as our NFC South preview continues. And an old friend here in Jacksonville, formerly of the Ball. He's been in Charlotte forever. The Mac Attack, Chris McClain, as we take a look back at the Carolina Panther offseason. That's next. Hacker After Dark rolls on till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Put some paint on your quarter panel.
Trouble left turn number 2. A couple of cars spin. Kyle Busch is one of them.
Sunday at the Chicago Street Race. NASCAR is tuned up by Maxie's Mechanics on Jacksonville's NASCAR station, 1010XL.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and the 4th of July weekend is upon us. And I know what you're thinking. I can't start Awaken 180 weight loss because I want to eat on that long weekend. Well, guess what? You can eat hamburgers on Awaken 180 weight loss. You can eat chicken, steak, or pork, too. You can even eat lobster because you're eating real food and losing weight. More important, it's fast, easy, and safe. No chemicals in your body, no counting calories or points, or any other fad diet. I can't stress this enough. You eat real food every single day. You know what else you're doing while losing weight with Awaken 180? Eliminating pain, fitting into clothes you haven't worn in years, sleeping through the night and waking up refreshed and energized. I lost 40 pounds in 9 weeks on Awaken 180, and Hacker lost more than 110. You can lose whatever you want. It doesn't matter what your goal weight is. Awaken 180 weight loss will get you there quickly and safely by eating real food every single day. Awaken 180 weight loss is the clear path to success without disappointment. Give them a call, 844-346-1800, or online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy. Why so glum?
Stinky ice cubes, Jason. It's all downhill from here.
What?
The tap water in my place smells kind of funky. Funky tap water makes funky ice cubes. I meet a nice girl, invite her back to my place for a cocktail, and blow my whole romantic gesture with a mojito that smells like dog's feet.
Wait, I can totally make you way cooler.
I'm not taking your charity ice cubes, Jason. I have my pride.
Your pride is safe. Our plumbers can be at your house the day you call and install a whole home water purification system. Water tastes better, dishes come out cleaner, even your hair feels better after you shower.
Ooh, the ladies love a man with soft hair, don't they, Jason?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend every day worried about the water in your own home, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my success with back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
I'm Max Fink, and I'm your Gator Updater. Listen for the Gator Report several times a week on 1010XL.
Freshened up by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators, 1010XL.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein & Robbins, fighting for your rights since 1975.
Are you ready to play this summer? At the First Coast YMCA, we're committed to being your home for health and wellness and a place for friendly competition with team sports for adults and for kids. Basketball, volleyball, pickleball, flag football, soccer. The Y has something for everyone at any age. Discover all the benefits of YMCA membership and find your fun this summer at the Y. Registration for team sports and summer camps is open now. Visit fcymca.org.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
I'm Brendan with Checkmate Coatings. Pool decks, driveways, garages, patios, we coat them all to make your neighbors jealous.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. One division per week leading up to the start of Jaguar training camp. This week, it's all about the NFC South. We will make stops in Tampa, in Atlanta, and in New Orleans. Right now, it's all about the Jaguars' Week 1 opponent. That's right, the Carolina Panthers, and what is thought to be a very much improved Carolina team after Bryce Young took that big step forward towards the end of last year. Our guy up in Charlotte is Chris McLean, the Mac Attack. That's right, longtime Jacksonville sports radio listeners. I'm sure you remember Chris McLean, formerly of The Ball. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Chris, how we doing?
Hey, brother, it's getting to the point where you got to be old as hell like me if you remember me in Jacksonville.
I was telling you earlier. I had Scott Jackson on a couple of weeks ago. I talked with Heath Klein a couple of days ago. Now I'm talking with you. I'm kind of rounding out the Ball lineup from back in the day.
I love it, man. I had so much fun back then. We'll always have a special place in my heart for Jacksonville, but we will not be friends in Week 1, though, my friend. I want you to know that.
Wait, Week 1 regular season opener. It's going to be a good one, a pretty big one for both teams. And let's start with Carolina, Chris. It's why we have you on. And Bryce Young, boy, he was thought to be a bust, and then all of a sudden, the last 6 weeks or so of last year, did the light come on for Bryce Young?
Oh, yeah, they really did. And I'm not going to act like, I knew that once he got a chance again after the benching, after Week 2, that everything was going to be perfect. I mean, I was a guy who really did like the Bryce Young selection. I really did love watching him at Bama, the way that he would process things and go through his reads and get rid of the ball, but also have that ability when he's under pressure to just create. How many SEC fans down there have seen, Bama Bryce just creating stuff? We didn't see that at all. I mean, he was borderline panicky, not just in his rookie season, but the first 2 weeks last year. I couldn't believe that he looked no different. Matter of fact, I would argue he looked worse, Ryan, in the first 2 weeks last year than he did in his rookie year. And it looked like literally he was scared, looking for the rush when he dropped back in the pocket, only throwing checkdowns. But the benching and the time away from the starting spotlight really did him some good. And you started to recognize the Bama Bryce as the season went on. His last 3 weeks, he ended up with 10 total touchdowns and 0 picks in those last 3 weeks. So that development has fueled us all off season. We can't wait to see what he does to build on that from last year.
Chris McLean, WFNZ Radio in Charlotte, as our NFC South preview continues. Obviously, his head coach, Dave Canales, coming into year 2. Interesting that the last 2 Bucs offensive coordinators are going to square off in Week 1 of the 2025 season, Canales versus Cohen. What is the thought on Canales heading into year number 2?
I think it's similar. I mean, I think early on when things were that rocky and then he benches Bryce, I think our immediate thought is, hold on. We were told this dude was the QB whisperer, right? The work he did with Geno Smith in Seattle as the quarterback's coach, then the work he did as coordinator with Baker Mayfield. And then to come in here, we thought he was here to help, develop Bryce Young, and he gives up on him after 2 weeks. And then he did something in the press conferences that I guess maybe it was by design to maybe take the spotlight off Bryce. But the media, even though Andy Dalton's starting, there for a while, the media wants to ask about Bryce. How's Bryce coming along in practice? What are you thinking in terms of his development? And he would just change the subject constantly, act like Bryce Young was the last thing he wanted to talk about. And I think a lot of us in Charlotte started thinking, oh, this dude's out. This dude came here, took this job, saw a little bit of Bryce Young and thought, I can't do anything with this. But then fate, Andy Dalton got into a car crash. Everybody was okay. But it really ended up being Bryce's chance to get back in. He never gave that starting job up. And then all of a sudden you started to see, oh, crap. There might be a method to Canales' madness here, behind the scenes working with Bryce all along. And so now I think we're back in on Canales as we're back in on Bryce. And they've got a running game and an offensive line, best offensive line they've had here in years. They spent big money on it a year ago in the offseason on a couple of guards. And, I think there's a feeling that finally, because I got to tell you, Ryan, we have played some of the ugliest offensive football known to man. We have set offensive football back here in Charlotte year after year in the Tepper era. But it feels like there's definite progress being made on that side of the ball. And I think Canales is a big part of that.
Yeah, Chris, when Jaguar fans hear you say bad offensive football, they say, hold my beer, because I think we would put ours up against yours as well. Look, Ted McMillan is a guy that we spent a lot of time talking about here in Jacksonville. That was a thought at number 5, of course, before the Jaguars did what they did and went and got Travis Hunter. Everything I've seen from McMillan at rookie minicamp and OTAs, he's looked sensational out there. Is that your opinion as well?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was lukewarm on the pick. I kind of wanted defensive help. Jalen Walker out of Georgia, who ends up going to the rival Falcons. That didn't make me any happier. But he was really a guy I was looking at that could help the defense that, holy crap. You talk about also setting defensive football back. Last year, the Panthers were last in league history in multiple categories. It was ugly. So I thought a guy like Jalen Walker out of Georgia, I know there's probably a lot of listeners who know him well in that area. I kind of thought he might be the ticket. They ended up going with T-Mac. Clearly, these are 2 straight big first-round receivers back-to-back. Clearly, they want to do all they can to give Bryce a target. I've started warming up to it a bit. I still am worried about the defensive side of the ball. But, yeah, I'll tell you this, he's got a great personality. He's just got an energy, and he and Bryce played against each other in California. They actually worked out with each other in California before the draft, and Bryce was lobbying to management to pick him. Which I found interesting as well. But I think he's definitely he brings them something that the Panthers did not have with their receiving core, which is a guy that just is going to go up and has this huge catch radius, and you just put it in the same area code as him, and he's going to come down with it. And I think we missed that. I think there were a lot of drops last year. Guys didn't make plays. So I am looking forward to that aspect of it, no doubt.
Outside of McMillan, Chris, what are some of the other skill position guys that we need to keep our eye on in Carolina?
Somehow Adam Thielen's still kicking. You know what I mean? Each year we start thinking, he can't produce much. And, he had an injury last year to cut his time down. But when he played, he and Bryce continued to just be on the same page. Xavier Legette's a key guy, though, man. He was the Panthers traded up into the second round in the draft in 2024, or in the first round, 2024 draft, to get Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. And he was really disappointing down the stretch, dropped a ton of footballs, including one that would have been a go-ahead touchdown in the last 2 minutes against the damn Eagles, the world champs. Bryce Young would have had a 90-plus yard game-winning drive against the Eagles, and Legette drops it. So he was, in fairness, playing through multiple injuries last year, and that needs to be mentioned. But I think he's a guy that has to come on. I think Jatavion Sanders, there's so many young skill position guys that I think were brought in to grow with Bryce. Jatavion Sanders is a tight end out of Texas, real athletic. And Jalen Coker was undrafted the same year, 2024, same year they picked Legette in the first round. And I'll be damned if he didn't play better as an undrafted wide receiver at a Holy Cross than Leggett did. So they do have this group of young receivers. You throw T-Mac in there with these second-year guys, and I'm really interested to see, do they all make a jump with Bryce? There's potential there. But obviously, they've got to, young guys, they got to keep making jumps, together.
Final moments with Chris McLean, the Mac Attack, WFNZ in Charlotte. He's our guy when it comes to the Panthers as our NFC South preview continues. Chris, you made mention your concerns about the defense. What have they done this offseason to do anything to shore that up?
Well, thankfully, I mentioned they didn't go defense in the first round. They shocked the hell out of us. But they did hit it hard in free agency. I mean, that defensive front is going to look completely different. First of all, they get Derek Brown back from the season-ending injury in Week 1 last year. I mean, that's like a star free agent signing right there. And I think this run defense last year, it was embarrassing. They were worst in the league, one of the worst in league history. And Ryan, there wasn't a team within 40 yards of them in terms of yards given up per game.
Wow.
I mean, they were in their own stratosphere of suckage in run defense. So I think Derek Brown helps. They brought in, I guess we got the Brown brothers now because they brought in Bobby Brown, true nose tackle from the Rams. Turk Wharton is a guy that's a defensive lineman that can rush the passer and play the run from the Chiefs. So those are two guys right there in Brown and Wharton who have won championships. So I think, and then they addressed the edge need, which I wanted them to address in the first round. On the second day of the draft, they got Nick Scorton out of Texas A&M, and they got Princely Umanmielen, both edges. He's out of Ole Miss. So they started throwing bodies at it. I think the secondary's still a little light. I'd like to see them add a veteran safety. I'm not sure we have two legit starting safeties, but they did bring in Trayvon Merrick as a free agent out of the Raiders. So there's no doubt they addressed that side of the ball. But I'm telling you, man, they had to. I've seen better defenses on like beginner level of Madden. I mean, it was horrifying last year. And I just told you about how bad our offense has been. So it's been horrifying in general, man. But I do think things are looking up. I think for the first time in the Tepper era, it feels like there's an upward trajectory. It's just how far along are they is the question.
Chris, as we begin to wrap up, talking to people around the division this week, the vibe I get, Tampa's the favorite. Maybe their biggest competitor is Atlanta, with the caveat that people think Carolina is going to be very much improved, and then New Orleans might be a dumpster fire. Is that the way you see it?
I think you broke that down perfectly. I mean, the dumpster fire part, there's nothing more accurate than that. Tampa has won 4 divisions in a row. There's no way you can disrespect them and not say they're the favorite. I think here in Carolina, I think we're really eyeing Atlanta. Played a high-scoring shootout with them in their place last year, the final week of the season, when Atlanta still had a playoff shot. Where if Tampa were to lose their game, and Tampa won, but if Tampa were to lose and they beat Carolina, they would have been in the playoffs. So they had everything to play for, and Carolina went down there, put up 45 on them. Bryce had 5 total touchdowns, and they beat them. And so I think we're looking at Atlanta right now and Carolina and saying, why the hell can we not pass them? I'm not getting too bold and calling out Tampa. I would love to see this team in the mix, for the playoffs in the division in December for a change. That'd be a nice twist. But I do think we're looking at Atlanta saying, man, have we made enough progress to get them? So that's kind of the way that we're looking at it. And New Orleans, man, I'm telling you right now, if you stick your nose out the window down there in Jacksonville, you're going to smell the stink, because I am expecting that team to be horrendous. And after all they did to us during the Drew Brees and Sean Payton years, it doesn't break my heart if they stay.
I can imagine it probably doesn't, no doubt about that. Chris, leave us with this. Being in Charlotte, being on morning radio, WFNZ there, I got to ask you about Belichick, man. What's the thought about him up there in that area?
Well, luckily, I think we're starting to get back to football now, because I got to tell you, we got accused of being TMZ every day for about 3 weeks there. And I couldn't help it, because this thing with Jordan Hudson, his 24-year-old girlfriend, and the way she was controlling aspects of his life was crazy to me. I mean, she had him, posing as a fisherman, and she's a damn mermaid for a photo shoot on the beach. They were doing Pilates together on the beach, and everybody heard about the CBS interview and her constant interruption. So that took over for a while. Now it seems like they got her in the background, and we're going to settle into football. It's real interesting. It's hard to get a read on this team, he literally didn't put the last names during spring practice on the jerseys. So when media was there, they had a hard time figuring out who they were. There's 40 new players on this roster because of the portal turnover. I do think they got a good dual threat quarterback in Gio Lopez that they paid $2 million from South Alabama, so he better be good. I think offensive line Belichick stocked up on, but I really think there's a lot of unknowns. They had some big hits in the portal on defense. A D lineman and Bo Atkinson to Ohio State, linebacker to Penn State. So I think we're a little uncertain of what we're going to see. And I get the feeling Belichick, you didn't put the names on the jerseys. He has literally done 2 press conferences only since he's been here.
Wow.
I think he wants us to kind of not know what to expect. So there's a lot of unknown. And I don't know about Belichick and college kids, is that going to be a marriage made in heaven? We know he can handle the college age, women. We know he's got that going on.
He does. He's got a good pulse on that. No question about it. Chris McLean, the Mac Attack, WFNZ up there in Charlotte. Chris, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. Let's hook up again the week of the opener. Next time we talk, we will be previewing week 1, Carolina and Jacksonville. Thank you, my friend.
No doubt. Sounds good, brother. Be good, man.
From the Buckman to the beaches and every suburb the St. Johns River reaches. It feels phenomenal. 1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
Dreams Come True is the only local wish-granting organization giving dreams and special times to local children battling life-threatening illnesses. Find out how you can help at dreamscometrue.org.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjax.org.
Her Song is a nonprofit organization that breaks the cycle of human trafficking through survivor care, victim outreach, and education. Find out how you can help at hersong.org.
If you could benefit from a grief and loss support group, call Haven Hospice at 279-1677.
The 5-Star Veteran Center of Jacksonville is the place homeless veterans can go to recover, recharge, retrain, and reconnect. Learn more at 5starveterancenter.org.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Where is the deepest canyon in the United States?
Filing an insurance claim following a storm shouldn't be an ordeal. Southern Oak Insurance's claim team prepares for catastrophic situations well in advance. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The deepest canyon in the United States is Hell's Canyon along the Oregon and Idaho border, about 8,000 feet deep at some point.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
It's about the hunt.
Captain Kevin Favor here with Captain Kirk and Jeff Loggeman. We take you from the water to the woods.
On the Nimnit Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Let's go to the woods, y'all.
Saturday mornings from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjax.com.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Hey, Jacksonville, need a fence and ready to save? At Superior Fence and Rail, you'll lock in 5% off your fence project when you sign by the end of July. A limited time offer for savings and peace of mind this summer. Now accepting appointments for a free estimate. So act fast and get 5% off your entire fence project when you finalize by July 31st. Cannot be combined with other offers. New contracts only.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
If life blindsided you tomorrow, would your family struggle? I'm Cody with Harborstone Financial, and I can help. One call could protect your family for life. 904-885-9566. Harborstone Financial.
Are you living with diabetic neuropathy? That pain and numbness in your hands or feet? What about chronic knee or shoulder pain? Maybe you've tried various treatments, but they've been ineffective. Now there's a solution. Dr. Ferdinand Formoso specializes in advanced pain management and offers breakthrough neuromodulation treatments for those conditions. His innovative treatments target the source of your pain, offering relief where medications may fall short. All procedures are performed outpatient with no hospitalization required. Just a chance for you to feel and live better. If you want to learn more, Dr. Formoso is hosting free informational classes where he'll explain the benefits of neuromodulation therapies and how they can help eliminate your pain. Spaces are limited, so call to reserve your spot now with offices on the South Side, West Side, and Jacksonville Beach. Relief is possible with Formoso spine and joint pain specialists.
Send your favorite person a sweet summer surprise today from Kuhn Flowers, creating memories for over 70 years. I'm RJ, and it's just so easy. Order online at kuhnflowers.com, Jacksonville, and Ponte Vedra.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The month of July has arrived. We can officially say college football begins next month. SEC Media Days about 2.5 weeks away as we are on the doorstep of the 2025 college football season. Let's look around the area, including Florida, Florida State, maybe a little Georgia as well, with Jesse Simonton. He's covered the world of college football for years, and Jesse's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Jesse, I trust your off season's gone well, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Jesse, we always appreciate it. All right, let's begin with the Florida Gators. Boy, this time last year you and I talked, and the only expectation was that Billy Napier would probably not be around in 2025. Not only is Billy Napier still here, but there are some expectations this year that potentially Florida, dare I say, a dark horse candidate for the college football playoff. Do you buy the hype on the Gators coming into 2025, Jesse?
You know, Ryan, I think Florida might be the most interesting team in college football this entire season, across the entire sport, no matter the conference, everything that's happening. I just think that they're truly kind of a unicorn, and by that I mean almost it's kind of a what the hell. You don't know which way it could go, because if you look at them through one lens, you see, oh man, the trenches, they probably haven't been this good on both sides. You got Banks, you got Sapp. Those are guys that are getting first-round buzz. Slaughter might be the best center in the country. Then you got Trey Wilson, a real electric playmaker. And so you're seeing a lot of promising pieces across the board. But the biggest wild card in that, and it's kind of, what is the health of DJ Lagway's right shoulder? And if he's good, if he's willing to run more, if Napier, I think, loosens things up a little bit in terms of play calling, Florida could scare, most any team on their schedule. On the flip side, if Lagway is not healthy, or if he can't really improve that, kind of feast or famine home run hitting stuff where he can throw these majestic deep balls, but then can't hit a 6-yard out with a lot of consistency. This is a team with this schedule that can really struggle. And so I don't know if it's so much buying the hype, Ryan, as it is I'm just really excited to kind of see how this team unfolds. The situation behind Lagway is not great. They at least had Mertz before Mertz went down, for the entire season a year ago. There's nothing like that. I mean, Harrison Bailey, the Louisville transfer, he's someone that when I was, a columnist in Tennessee, was signed with the Vols, and he's kind of made the merry-go-round all around college football. He's been in a bunch of different spots, playing his last season at Florida. He's a good kid, good guy. Grew up in Marietta, but he doesn't have a ton of experience, and he's kind of destined to almost be kind of like a future coach. And so if Lagway goes down, the season could really fall apart quickly, I think, for the Gators.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Again, Jesse Simonton with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. And Jesse, to me, when you talk about Lagway, and I got taken to task a little bit last week by some Gator fans after I made this point, and maybe I'm too much of a stats guy, and perhaps that's somewhat true, but 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions last year, 60% completion percentage, as you alluded to. Look, I think Lagway is going to be a very good player if he's healthy. But these Gator fans telling me that Lagway is going to be in New York as a Heisman finalist at the end of the year, I think you ought to pump the brakes a little bit on that.
Yeah, I'm based on what I saw last year, I would be less concerned about some of the interceptions. I think some of that could absolutely just be pinpointed to youth, inexperience. And the offensive line, I don't think, was as good as it's going to be this year. I think that, they returned some really strong pieces. I mentioned Slaughter. I think Barber's a pretty good left tackle, too. But I think it's just, can he elevate that completion percentage, which you just touched on and which I had alluded to earlier, and just hit more of the simple throws. I really think that's, Florida's offense got bogged down at times in some of these games, even the games that Lagway played, where, again, he would, he could hit these insane deep shots. He had that one game where he hit like 6 completions over 20 yards or whatever, just crazy. And yet the simple stuff just kind of seemed to kind of fall flat. And so I do think that DJ Lagway, I will say this in defense of us Florida fans, raw stats aside, I do think Lagway has the upside and the potential, and those are two, buzzy key words, but upside and potential, to be the best quarterback in the SEC. Yes, to be even better than Arch, to be better than Nuss. There's a lot of really, promising, I think, arms in the league this year. And Lagway's way down in terms of both stats and experience, but I do think that if the perfect, magical season unfolds for Florida, I think it is not, not outside the lines that Lagway could find himself in New York or be the number one quarterback in the league come, late November.
Jesse, final Florida question I want to branch out with you, and it's about the overall schedule and how you think they'll fare in 2025. And look, we'll obviously have you back on as we get into the season. But to me, with all the expectations coming in, it's going to be hard to justify 7-5 again. I mean, Billy Napier's in good standing right now the way last year ended. But I look at weeks 3, 4, 5, and 6, and you're at LSU, at Miami, home Texas, at Texas A&M. Potentially, it could be a very good start or a very bad start. I think Florida's got to go 8-4 or better, or there's going to be pressure on Napier again. What's your thought there?
Yeah, I would co-sign all that. I think the one different thing that we know from Florida, and we can use this as evidence of last year in comparison to I think even really some of their Sunshine State rivals, Florida State and Miami, where Miami we don't know because things didn't fall off the railroad tracks like they did at Florida State, but they still didn't get it done at the end of the season. And you bring in X amount of transfers, I think there's some danger there that if the season does get off to a slippery slope, things could get bad. Florida has brought in some transfers, not a ton, but they brought in some. But I think what they showed last year is the season got off to a really disastrous start. You lose multiple home games early, Miami, A&M, and yet they are able to rally and go 8-5. So if there is some slippage in that first month, again, a couple of really tough back-to-back road games with LSU and Miami,
who's to say that maybe they aren't, because they didn't just fold on Billy last year. They clearly were bought in. They're bought into this staff. And so then you do kind of have at least a little bit of a runway with a couple home games. So it's a tough slate. I mean, you just take a peek at it, and you're playing Texas, which is going to be a top 5 team. Georgia's a top 5 team. LSU. There's a lot of folks that think that the Tigers could maybe be the sleeper, the dark horse that kind of comes from 3rd or 5th and suddenly shotguns up to win the league. So they're all on the schedule. Then you mentioned obviously A&M, Tennessee, Ole Miss. I mean, it's tough. And so there is some buzzing optimism in Gainesville for sure. When the pavement hits the road, now they're going to have to actually prove that, they can build on that momentum or at least, take the next step. Because I think if they go backwards, I think that could spell trouble for Billy.
Jesse Simonton's covered the world of college football for years. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Jesse, let's go to Florida State in the time that we have left. You mentioned an absolute disaster last year at 2-10. Mike Norvell gutted his staff, brought in 2 new coordinators, obviously a lot of additions in the transfer portal. What's your early thought on Florida State as we enter 2025?
I think at best this is a 6-16. I don't have a ton of. I think that Norvell is hoping to just kind of keep his head above water and get to 26, and then maybe they'll have hopefully continue to kind of gin up a little bit of the high school recruiting a little bit more, not rely on so many transfers. You're going to have some teams going to be fairly young this year in some spots. I think they'll return. I know returning starters, returning production is certainly more important in the big, overview of the team. But they do only return, I think, 2 or 3 starters. So there's just so much change. We saw kind of the yin and yang, with the transfers working 2 years ago and then just becoming a complete disaster. And like I kind of said, I mean, and alluded to a few minutes ago, I think Florida State just folded on the season. And so that certainly required a bunch of staff changes because the players did not have the buy-in on that staff. I think Tony White's a fantastic hire as a defensive coordinator. I'm extremely skeptical about Gus. I just think that, he kind of had his time in the sun and folks kind of figured out that offense. Now, you just let Castellanos run around and you hope you can kind of, spring an upset or two. I think the danger for Florida State is they are, at least based on the offseason comments, Ryan, they are putting a lot of eggs in that, week 1 game against Alabama. And you've already kind of stirred the hornet's nest with a lot of what Castellanos has said. And so if you were putting everything into that game, it's a home game, renovated stadium, all the like, week 1. If you come out and just get dusted, what's the morale for the rest of the season? Because we saw that, go kaput just a year ago. And so you've lost some of your best players. They've brought in, some interesting pieces. They did get, Darrell Jackson back, who I think was going to maybe go to the NFL, but then, opted to return to school. So I don't see this as a team that can compete for the ACC this year. And I think if they get to a bowl game, Norvell has probably done a pretty good job, and he gets 1 more year for 26.
Jesse, as we begin to wrap up, as crazy as this sounds, so much love coming into the preseason for Clemson and Texas that, dare I say, Georgia, for at least their standards, might be under the radar a little bit. Now, I know a lot depends on Gunnar Stockton, obviously, but do you get the sense that the Dogs might be a little bit under the radar?
I do think that this is the exact sort of position. Kirby says they always like to be hunted, and he's not wrong. Georgia will always be the hunter. But I think that a lot of this is almost akin to no one really talked about Georgia a couple of years ago when they were coming off their first national championship. It might have been the least discussed returning national title team. They lost 1 million. They got 1 million guys drafted off that first team. Jordan Davis and all those guys kind of started that run of like the Georgia, the Bulldogs in Philadelphia and all the first round picks and whatnot. But this is a similar sort of thing where they are not being the team that is being discussed. In the SEC, it's Texas, LSU, and Alabama. Obviously everyone is wondering what Ohio State's going to look like. And then you mentioned, Clemson is getting, and I think with good reason, is getting a lot of buzz. So the Bulldogs are going to be, I think, really, really good on defense. That young linebacker recruit. There's some questions about, I think maybe the defensive line in terms of stopping the run. I think that Kirby himself has kind of acknowledged there's some concerns there because they might not have the, Jordan Davises or those guys. But I think they still do have enough depth there. I think the receiver position, frankly, is going to be vastly improved. And so Gunnar Stockton certainly is kind of an X factor because what is he going to be at quarterback? Or do they, give some shine to Ryan Puglisi and see if he can kind of run the show? But I think Zachariah Branch, you get Noah from Texas A&M. I think some of those freshmen, there's been a lot of buzz. They got a couple 5-stars. Taylor and another guy that I think has kind of generated some offseason buzz. So I think there's optimism, quiet optimism in Athens that, hey, maybe this isn't the monolith, these, kind of dynastic teams that everyone maybe expected right now. And that's just because of NIL and kind of the way talent and parity has kind of been spread out. But I think Georgia certainly is going to be a playoff contender. And then you get into the field and it's kind of how healthy is your team.
Jesse, we got 60 seconds. Leave us with this. A quick thought on Miami. Do you believe in what Carson Beck will bring to the Hurricanes this year?
I guess my summation of Miami is I'm always kind of questionable of kind of crystal ball in these close games. And so has the margin been shrunk there? We don't know. And with Carson Beck, he's in a heck of a similar situation than he was at Georgia last year. And, we kind of saw the ups and downs of that. Played on a team that had a really good defense, had some top 5 edge rushers, Ruben Bain from Miami. But the receiver position, last year it let him down at Georgia, and that's Miami's biggest question mark. So he was not able to overcome it in 24. Can he overcome it in 25 now coming off a major injury?
Jesse Simonton covering the world of college football. We're always appreciative of him right here on 1010XL. Jesse, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Thanks, Ryan.
And thank you to Jesse Simonton, college football reporter, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark, taking a look at Florida, Florida State, Georgia, and Miami. I figure since we spent so much time on the Jacksonville Jaguars, I definitely want to work some college football in over the next week or two, as we're in the month of July now. Heck, we're 2.5 weeks away from SEC Media Days, and we are now officially, you can say, next month. There will be college football. Week 0, of course, is Saturday, August the 23rd. So appreciate Jesse talking a little college ball with us tonight. Our NFC South preview continued as well, as tonight we focused on the Carolina Panthers. The Jaguars season opener, right? On September 7th, Carolina will be here in Jacksonville. So we spent some time on Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers tonight. The NBA is going nuts with trades and free agency. Certainly spent some time on that. But as always, we'll never get too far away from the Jacksonville Jaguars, as we are roughly 3 weeks away from Jaguar training camp and on the doorstep of the 2025 NFL regular season. Well, that will just about do it, man. It has been a very, very busy Tuesday evening here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, college football reporter Jesse Simonton. Always appreciate Jesse taking time out. Thank you to Chris McLean, the Mac Attack, WFNZ Radio in Charlotte. Of course, you longtime Jacksonville sports radio listeners will remember Chris from his time on The Ball. He's now been a fixture in Charlotte for a long time. He's our guy when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, as our NFC South preview continue tonight. Thank you to Zach Hanshu of Roto World, covering the NBA and all the craziness that has gone on in the last couple of weeks with trades and free agency. And Garrett Padell of CBSSports.com. Stop by to talk Jags, a little AFC South, and more. Now, we will be back tomorrow. Again, just like all week, we'll be on with Hayes Carline on the Frangie Show from 4 o'clock until 6 o'clock And then I'll be right back here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock for a Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. And we do hope that you join us then. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Tuesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Tuesday evening. And I'll talk to you again both at 4 o'clock tomorrow on The Frangie Show and then right back here at 8 o'clock tomorrow night for Hacker After Dark. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
How dare you talk to me in that fashion? Who are you? 1010XL.
Oh, yes, I've heard of you. They say you're pretty handy with a sword.
Let's find out. 92.5 FM.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental with light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, 2 locations.